For example, I'm told you have 24 trillion living cells that make up your body. Your body's pretty important to you. I don't think you'd like to not have one as you go through your life on Earth. It allows you to do so. What did you do to deserve that 24 trillion cells wake up and stay awake, even when you sleep, all day and do their thing? Liver cells, spleen cells, kidney cells. They're working constantly. They're communicating with each other. They're living cells. And they have to work together to give you the gift of this body. This body is grace. You do not do anything to deserve it. You do not do anything to make these things happen. You don't ever say thank you. You should, but you don't say thank you to your liver or your kidney or your spleen or your pineal gland, if you even know where it is. But they let you have the gift of life. They let you have the gift of experience. That's grace. The earth itself. You did nothing to put yourself on this planet. You could be on Mars. You could be anywhere in the universe. All kinds of things exist of which you don't deserve it or not deserve it. It's just a complete gift of grace that is given to you. The problem is we don't see grace. Why? Because we develop within our minds concepts and views about what we want. And we consider grace, we limit it to only when suddenly we get what we want. If we work to get what we want and we get it, we don't consider that grace. We say, I did it. The ego's so big. I did that. I deserve that. All right? But if somehow something we want comes unexpected, we say it's grace. But I hope you're seeing grace is way bigger than that. You didn't do any of these things, even your mind and your heart. You didn't make a heart that feels. You didn't make a heart that's capable of feeling love or sorrow or anything. It's a gift that was given to you. It's just grace. Your mind. Everybody's so proud of their minds. They do so much with their mind. What if your mind didn't think? What if the thoughts didn't come? What if memory didn't work? You wouldn't know what to do. You can't do anything. It's grace. The fact that you have a mind that can think and dig up the earth and make all these products and build rocket ships and fly to the moon and build handheld computers and so on, the fact that the mind is capable of that is not something you did. You may have learned something, but it's only because your mind is capable of learning. The whole universe you live in is grace. It was just given to you. And we don't appreciate it. We think that grace only exists when we're trying to get something and we didn't think we'd be able to, and suddenly it happens. We can't explain how. Oh my God, that was an act of grace. It's so much bigger than that. Eventually, if you look properly from a distance to step back from your ego, you will realize that the very fact that you have a mind that can think, you didn't earn that. Well, everybody has that. Human beings have brilliant minds, all of them. The mind is phenomenal. And the same thing with the feelings of the heart and with the fact that you have a body and the fact that you're on the planet Earth where there are all of these things, the trees, flowers, the fact that it rains so that it can water the trees and take care of the forests. All of this is grace. It's all grace. The real gift of grace is when you stop that little way of thinking and you start appreciating. The only answer to grace is gratitude.
You're listening to the Force for Good season of the Tony Robbins podcast. To learn more about the 10 gifts that we're featuring this holiday season, including emotion, drive, growth, joy, gratitude, connection, consciousness, grace, presence, and forgiveness, please visit www.tonyrobbins.com/gifts, GIFTS. And to find Tony Robbins products and events that can help you identify your gifts, go to tonyrobbins.com/shop, SHOP. As you just heard from Michael Singer and Sage Robbins, grace is in every moment. It's like rain, falling everywhere, but we often hold up the umbrella of ego to make sure we don't get wet. But there are times when we need it most, when we most need to put down the umbrella and just get soaked. The story you're about to hear is how grace showed up in the life of a woman who was open to receiving it. Because as Tony says, the more you acknowledge grace, the more it shows up.
Jen Ferris could have put a negative meaning on many things in her life, things that were out of her control. But listen as we see how grace appears in the most unlikely of places and times, but always when your heart is open and your faith is strong. We're about to take you to Date with Destiny. You may have heard of it from Tony's documentary, I Am Not Your Guru, on Netflix. Date with Destiny is an event where thousands of people not only make the decision to transform their lives, but do the hard work needed to make real, lasting change. Here's Jen.
My earliest memory was I was a young toddler, maybe 2 or 3. I was laying on a hard dirt floor in a rural village in southern India on a straw mat and a cotton blanket covering me. Around me is the straw walls of our little shack in a village where my family members resided. My mother crawled out of the bed, stood up, covered me. She was troubled. I felt she was torn. Out of the love for her baby daughter, she had to make a choice of keeping this blind girl who might never become anything more than playing in the dirt with badly deformed eyes, not to marry, not to bring a dowry, not to bring pride. Or she could give the child to God and take her to the streets where a police officer would find me and take me to the children's orphanage. When Tony asked me to look into the perspective of God, I found God's truth, and God's truth said, the product of the sperm and egg are not what you are. You're to be a child for a different family. And so I'm sure God protected my mother, comforted her while she had to make that choice to give me away and leave me there on the bus stop while other children played in the schoolhouse behind me. Not wanting to wait around because I don't like waiting and being told to stay here and wait for me, wait till I come back for you. I decided I would explore my surroundings. I was so adventurous that I took steps away from the bus stop at the bench and decided to go back down the road to follow her. I heard a dog barking, and that took me back to the bench where I scrambled up onto the top rail. And I was screaming and crying, and then a police officer found me and he asked me, "What are you doing here? Why aren't you in school?" And I said, "Oh, don't worry, my mother's coming back for me." He said, "Sure."